So why do we actually test students? I mean, it's a question literally every student has asked during a super stressful week of studying. But what if we completely shift our perspective on this? What if testing isn't just some boring greeting exercise, but more like prepping for a high-stakes ranked match in Mobile Legends? Think about it. You wouldn't just jump into the arena without testing your hero's build, learning your combos, and double-checking your team's strategy, right? Well, that is exactly what a well-structured assessment system does for education.
Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking what you might call the ultimate meta of learning by looking closely at summative assessments. We're going to explore exactly how we measure learning at critical points in a school term. And by the end of this, you'll see that these aren't just arbitrary hurdles. They are actually highly interconnected tools designed to ensure our students' skills are leveled up and ready for absolutely anything. Let's dive in. Now, if you look at the entire framework of student evaluation, it's basically supported by three distinct pillars. You can actually think of them kind of like the three lanes on a MOBA map. We have written and oral works, product and performance tasks, and finally, summative tests and the term examination. Each one of these has a very specific job, a unique frequency, and a targeted purpose. We're going to break these down step by step. All right, so here is our roadmap for today. First up, the purpose of assessments. Second, written and oral works. Third, product and performance tasks. And finally, tests and term examinations. Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the purpose of assessments, or essentially, why we measure learning in the first place. The core philosophy here is pretty straightforward. As it states, these assessments help measure learning, provide evidence of achievement in knowledge, skills, and values, and, this is key, guide teachers in making informed decisions for instruction and support. So testing isn't just some finish line where you get a score and go home. No, it's a really powerful diagnostic tool. It provides hard stats on a student's skills, giving teachers the exact feedback they need to tweak their strategy and properly support the student. Moving on to Section 2, written and oral works. These are basically the daily blueprints and, our base stat checks. By definition, written and oral works, we'll just call them WWs for short, are tasks that are mainly written or prompted through spoken responses. The design here is highly intentional. The teacher throws out a prompt, and the student has to fire back, articulating their understanding clearly on paper or out loud. You're definitely familiar with these. We're talking essays, personal journals, written reports, structured presentations. These are absolutely the workhorses of the classroom. They check the base stats. Can the student recall the facts? Can they organize their thoughts? Explain a concept clearly? This right here is where foundational knowledge is solidified. No, notice the strict compliance limit here. Educators actually have to administer a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 of these WWs per term. And that's not just a random number. 3 to 5 provides just enough data to gauge ongoing understanding without hitting the students with serious assessment fatigue. Before we move to the next part, let's look at a really crucial distinction. Written and oral works tests what a student knows, but our next category, that tests what they can actually do. It's like knowing the theory behind your hero's skill description is one thing, right? But actually jumping into a chaotic team fight and executing that combo flawlessly, entirely different. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, product and performance tasks. This is about constructing the rooms and executing the strategy. So product and performance tasks, or PTs, measure the ability of a learner to apply what they've learned in different contexts. And wow, this is a massive leap from simple recall. A PT requires the learner to take their theoretical knowledge and practically apply it to solve a problem or, navigate a tangible real-world scenario. Because they're all about application, performance tasks naturally take the shape of deeper, much more involved work. We're talking those long-term projects, comprehensive portfolios, and hands-on investigations. These tasks demand higher-level cognitive processing, essentially synthesizing information and producing something entirely new. And since these tasks are, pretty heavy lifts for both the students and the teachers, the frequency rules actually shift downward. The framework requires a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 3 PTs per term. This gives students the breathing room they need to dive deep, iterate, and produce truly high-quality work without feeling rushed. All right, finally, Section 4, tests and term examinations. Think of this as the final building inspection. Now, unlike the somewhat flexible pacing we were just talking about, summative tests, or STs, have a very rigid schedule. The rule is absolute here. They must be administered exactly twice in a term. This ensures all students are checked on comprehensive retention at the exact same intervals. No exceptions.
The chronological structure of this is actually super fascinating. So the first summative test covers the first 15 instructional days. Then the second ST covers the next 15 instructional days. Finally, the term culminates in the term examination, which evaluates critical points from both of those prior tests. It logically evaluates learning in these manageable 15-day chunks before zooming way out for a holistic, final boss-level assessment of the entire term. When you step back and look at it all together, the elegance of this design really becomes clear. It isn't just some rando list of tests. It is a complete, beautifully interconnected system. Written and oral works assess that foundational knowledge. Performance tasks assess practical application. And summative tests ensure long-term retention. These three pillars combine to create a full, multidimensional picture of student achievement. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. Knowing the strict limits, the 3 to 5 written works, the 2 to 3 performance tasks, those precise 15-day test intervals, how can educators best balance these in practice? Because mastering this framework isn't just about blindly following rules, it's about strategizing the absolute perfect loadout for your students' success. Are you just testing them, or are you actually helping them level up? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep building that foundation for the next match.